Hello, everyone. So we've had our picture taken. That was very important. I hope my forehead was not shiny. Thank you for being at our Future of EdTech panel. Really appreciate your time this morning. My name is Victoria. I'm an investor at EdVentures. And with me, we have our panel. So maybe if we just introduce ourselves.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Abassy. I'm GM of EdVentures. EdVentures, it's a corporate venture capital fund based in Egypt, Cairo. We investing in EdTech startups. We started in 2017 and we're having right now a 29 startup in our portfolio. All of them are Egyptians, but they are operating in many regions and Africa and as well international markets. And also we're having an accelerations and incubation program. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Patel. I'm a director in the Pearson Ventures team. We are the CVC arm of Pearson, the lifelong learning company. We are early stage investors in education and future of work, typically like late seed to Series B. Very strategic in our approach, investing across the globe, historically predominantly US, followed by the UK, Europe, and then rest of world. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here today.
Hi, my name is McInerney. I am the co-founder of Tapp. So we survey about 10,000 teachers each day on an app that we run, so it's very popular with teachers, but also crucially that gives us lots and lots of insights into what teachers want, need, think and feel. Our largest panel is in England, but we do have panels as well in the Netherlands, in Belgium, and a fledgling panel in the US.
Does this work? Yeah, this works. Hey, I'm Sami. I work for Emerge. We're an early stage pre-seed seed fund focused on investing in companies in the future of learning and work. We're currently investing out of our second fund, which is 75 million. On a personal level, I started work in management consulting, found it underwhelming, then joined Gorillas, the quick com grocery, spent a year there in the expansion team. Then I worked at Uber for a couple of years, which was great. But alongside that, I've always been really passionate about education. I sit on the board for 4 primary schools around London, and yeah, really enjoy the opportunity to work more closely in a sector that I care about.
Cool, thank you. I'm personally very excited to speak to our panelists. So maybe we start with just an opening question, and then we have some questions that are tailored to, the background of our different speakers. So as I think many people in the room know, EdTech saw a huge boom under COVID and became sort of a household investment thesis. And so there's been ebbs and flows around that. And today, as you can imagine, big themes in EdTech are around, on one hand, the potential of AI and generative AI in education. Hello, Mohammed. And on the other hand, a very healthy focus on evidence-based impact, right? In an age where almost anyone can launch sort of an EdTech app, where is the impact and where is the evidence? And so, maybe just, at the intersection of that, AI, generative AI, and also sort of like more scrutiny on the outcomes, what is an area that you guys find particularly exciting in education about the potential of AI?
I can go first. Okay. Yeah, happy to. So I think the bit that really excites me about the emergence of generative AI and the application is actually like multimodal formative assessment. So if you think about how assessments were done historically, it was predominantly like pen and paper or digital, and it was knowledge checks. But if you think about what you could do when you add video and speech on top of that, it unlocks a whole different level of data, and you can help the learner in a different way, and the educator in the classroom as well. So for example, in a digital classroom, you're recording the voice, you're recording the video, the student's doing a task, and the AI is able to analyze how effective were they at the task, were they confident, what kind of intervention was needed at one point, and it's unlocking a whole wealth of data. But they're also evaluating the teacher and helping the teacher progress. And actually you can use some of that data and evidence to help you get certifications and complete your teacher professional PD. So I think this is going to be a game changer. And we've got 1 or 2 exciting companies in the pipeline that do that. So that's the main one for me.
Thank you. Do share the companies. And I love that because actually, now you can generate with AI like almost any output, and there's like, concerns around students cheating. That's another debate, but I think, in the age of AI, what becomes very important is holistic skills, and so, maybe school systems should shift towards more verbal exams, how you conduct yourself and your clarity with what you speak and la la la. So love that, and I think that's really cool, and I think at all we should look into that more as well. Any other?
Yes. Okay. Okay, as I saying that we are based in MENA region, Africa, I'll tell you our ratio. Teacher to student ratio in Africa on average 1 to 40. So this is difficult, and also I think the potential for AI, it will help teachers to be able to use the AI tools to grading and making a feedback about students' progress. And by using AI, this will give a free time for teachers to be able to teaching and dealing with each students, and also using AI tools or solutions to be able to customize a learning journey for students, which is making more impact. So I think this is the most exciting about AI, and we are trying to explore right now the potential opportunities, which is there is startups developing their own technology in-house and using AI not just as a tool, but the core of their own business model about AI.
I love that, and I love the theme around freeing up time for teachers to have, time on a higher impact task and more, one-to-one connections. Laura?
When I think about AI, one of the big challenges when you talk to teachers is they'll say to you, well, why is learning that uses AI different to a textbook or CD-ROMs or other types of software that we've had? Because if you think about it, even if you have a high ratio of students, they could each have a textbook and be working through that textbook. What's different? And actually, I think sometimes the front end is what people focus on in schools, but what's really interesting is the back end and the data. So when we started Teach Tapp, it was already possible to get loads of people to do a paper survey, and it was really possible to analyze that. But the difference for us was when apps came in 10 years ago and our survey moved to being an app and computing power got a lot quicker in the cloud, we were able to take 10,000 people to do a survey on one day and then analyze that data very quickly and give something back. The bit that's super exciting about AI, and it comes to what both of you have just said, is that we can take data points from potentially millions of children at once. And what's really interesting is what the data can do in the back, what machine learning and the way that generative AI can give you that data back in ways that every teacher could understand, and every teacher, if they had the time, could then act on, is the bit that's transformative. I was a teacher, so I taught in secondary schools, and it takes years before you can understand why a student isn't answering the question how you want them to answer it. But actually, if you had access to those list of misconceptions that when we look across millions of data points, there's only going to be maybe 10 or 15 reasons why they get that question wrong. You can really get teachers much quicker to the point where they can also be effective. And I think that's what you're saying, Pav. It's not just that the kids will learn better. It's also that we should be able to teach teachers better. So I'm excited about what the data processing of machine learning can enable us to quickly learn.
Cool, that's awesome. For me, I'm most excited about learning in the flow of work, and specifically deskless workers, which, as you know, make up over 50% of the working population. And then in industries like manufacturing and others, I'm really excited by. So I think something like 35% of all deskless workers in manufacturing companies in Europe are set to retire in the next 5 years, and there's a big top-of-funnel problem with getting new talent in. And in the way knowledge transfer happens in these industries is very informal. It's through conversations, the old guard teaching the new guard all the tricks and the nuances, and it's not really documented. So then when you combine that with the fact that there's this imbalance of inflowing talent and retiring talent, it's a bit scary. And so there's a whole load of really exciting companies out there now that ingest all of this information through the manuals, plus having conversations with the outgoing workforce, build up a really rich data set of which the new incoming talent can use to upskill themselves. And then when you take this digital, it's super exciting. So there's a company in Germany called Augmented Industries, and they've built a product that a 22-year-old can join a manufacturing company, get an iPad, point it at a machine, and get all of the troubleshooting, step-by-step guides at the click of a fingers, overlaid on the machinery itself. And I think it's a really exciting way of bringing learning into the flow of work. So yeah, that's what I'm most excited about at the moment.
That's really cool, and I would love to learn more about your focus on like education versus future of work, but we can do that offline. Anyway, that's really cool. So now, I thought we should just, make sure that we capture the unique context of each panelist. So maybe if we start with Amra. So EdVentures predominantly invest in the North Africa and the Middle East. What are some companies that you're particularly excited about?
Okay, let me start with some numbers. As you know, in MENA regions there is 400 million people. 140 million is under 30. And if we talking about Egypt, it's 60% of population is under 30. So I think this is very, very promising market. And also what we focus recently is about education for employment to support upskilling and reskilling for youth to be ready to the new technology and what's happening. And also what we considering as a white space, or it's a blue ocean for us, it's Arabic AI native content creation, because there's more than 400 million speaking Arabic, but till now there is there's a startups providing an AI and as an Arabic native authoring tool. So this is kind of what we are looking for as an opportunity. That's what making exciting for us. And also for workforce, I think the education for employment is very, very important, and there is a big opportunity for it. This is what we are excited about in the future.
I love that, and it actually speaks to a question I have in my head a little bit, because you see a lot of edtech companies wanting to scale to the Middle East, and so they will launch, products in Arabic. But I think what you're saying is that, Arabic native edtech companies are the ones that will have the highest quality in that region, and that makes total sense, and that's great to hear. All right, moving on to Laura, who is the co-founder of Tapp. Is that how?
Yeah.
Tapp. And I looked it up. I hadn't heard of it before, but I looked it up the other day, and I think it's incredibly cool. She can explain it much better, but from my understanding, it's a way of getting like a pulse of how teachers feel on an everyday basis through like short, quick surveys. And it's a huge sort of channel for also gaining feedback, as I understand, on EdTech. Which is, something that all edtech companies are starving for or thirsting for. And so my question is, what is something that edtech companies often get wrong about how teachers, want to adopt or use edtech in the classroom, or, as they prepare lessons?
Sure. So specifically in the UK, but also in lots of other countries, people overestimate how much technology is in the classroom, for a start. So in England, you're looking at only 1 in 5 classrooms having one-to-one devices. 80% of the time, that doesn't exist. 50% of teachers will tell you that Wi-Fi doesn't work across their school. So it may be that they have a laptop. 70% of teachers are given laptops by their school. Only 70, 30% are not. But actually, even if they have one, they may well be in a part of the building or the school where Wi-Fi is a bit patchy. And for them, what matters the most is that it works. We asked again recently, did technology fail on you at any point today? 30% of teachers said yes. Now, if that was true in hotel receptions or in airlines or in any other industry, it would be a real problem. And for the teachers, it is a real problem. Now, they manage it. They don't kick off. They're not the ones who have the relationship with the suppliers. But it's one of the reasons why EdTech sells very, very well to head teachers or to CEOs of various school chains. And then the teachers do not use it. They do not trust it. So I would say stuff around just how reliable the infrastructure is one. And the second one, which you mentioned earlier, Victoria, is this issue around workload. Do we want to save teachers time? In lots of industries, saving time is great because it improves your margins, your productivity. It doesn't work the same in schools. They're going to be there teaching those kids for the same number of hours, whatever your software does, right? So actually, when you're talking about saving time, what you have to think about is, A, what are they going to do with it? Because they're still going to be there. And B, is it a thing they want their time saved on? Lots of people look at lesson planning and they say, teachers spend hours planning their lessons, we'll come in and fix it for you. But a lot of them like their lesson planning. If you say we're going to turn up with our AI and take away the bit of the job that they like, they might want to bite you. So you've got to have a think about what are the things that they don't like, right? Actually, if you ask them, they don't like marking. So again, people go and say, brilliant, we'll build a big thing. You hate marking. The problem is, half of them believe that builds relationships with their pupils. So again, you've just turned up and said, the thing that will help you every day, which is your relationship with your pupil, my computer is going to take that away. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get solutions that help with those things. But you have to be very, very careful about how you build them, why you build them, and take away anything that looks like margin, productivity, return on investments if you're talking to the teachers, because that is not their language.
No, that's fascinating, and I certainly didn't know that that was actually the state of sort of EdTech in UK classrooms. That's definitely food for thought. I'm worried in the future around, today we talk about a digital gap in access to Wi-Fi or, the best EdTech. I'm worried about in the future, even though I'm an EdTech investor, right? And you should have values in this. So I'm worried about in the future that there is a gap in-person connection, right? So the most marginalized students will be the ones that end up being relegated on online solutions, whereas the most privileged students are the ones that get to learn in person. And actually, there's a member in the audience here called Mohammed who has a company called iSchool. And I got to demo their product the other day, and it was really exciting because they merged like the in-person experience with the digital experience as well and get the best of both and like live tutors. So I was really excited to see that. Moving on to Sami maybe. So you invest quite early stage, and what are some EdTech investment theses that you see outside of AI tutoring that you think has huge potential?
Yeah, sure. And just to follow up, so yeah, Laura, that was really interesting, and yeah, great point. I must have never actually considered teachers enjoy lesson planning and marking. Like I'm just on this like wave of like, yeah, save time, Magic School, Brisk, and all these other solutions. So that's a really interesting point. Fuck. Yeah, so from stuff I'm excited about, well, you mentioned around AI tutors. So actually, AI tutors get a really bad rep because they're very easy for weekend vibe coders to spin something up, and they can typically not work very well, look a bit glamorous, which I think is pretty well founded in a lot of cases. And like 3 years ago, it was hilarious how many people were building solutions that you could speak to Einstein about like your maths problems, and that was quite novel and all good and fun. But I'd like to say that AI tutors are actually super exciting when done well. And actually, one of our most exciting portfolio companies at the moment is called Solvely. They started as an AI homework helper for maths. We did their seed 2 years ago. They were doing 6-figure revenues. Now they're doing 8-figure revenues, just raised a 20 million Series A, growing like a rocket. And I think done well, it's still a really exciting space with loads of opportunity. And the key for them is they've just stayed ahead of the frontier labs by 6 months, given it's the core focus, the thing they do the most. So like ChatGPT launched study mode in July last year. They'd been doing that concept for 6 months previous, and they just keep staying ahead of the competition, namely the frontier labs, and that's what's given them success so far. So I think AI tutors are exciting, but they get a bad rep. And then actually, I already used, my exciting one is about this learning in the flow of work. I think that's where I'm kind of like most excited about. But in defense of AI tutors, then there you go, I gave that instead.
I love that. I actually thought, because we've been, editing our own questions a little bit, I actually thought that, it was a bash on AI tutors. But actually, you're like, when done well, they're really great.
No, I think someone who organized the conference used AI to create these question set, and that was just like anyway, so I thought I'd just leave it as was.
And got it. And what would you say, what distinguishes an amazing AI tutor from, because we see a lot of AI tutors, so like, what are those things that really set them apart?
Yeah, I think it's a big combination of factors that all need to combine to deliver the great learning product. Like one is parameters, safe space. Like typically these are younger people using these things. They need to be built in a sandbox that they can't be exposed to horrible things. One. Secondly, building communities around learning. Like if the kid or whoever can go on and see what their friends learned that day, how well their friends are doing, where they rank between them, that drives retention and keeps them coming back and back. I think that's really exciting. Curriculum alignment as well is something that I think is super important. I mean, it's a bit of a generic point, but it's very hard to do really well. So we have another company in our portfolio, MyEdspace, and they basically do one-to-many teaching where a kid comes home from school that day, logs on, and then boom, everything they learned that day is then being delivered by an amazing teacher, and they get an opportunity to catch up on all the things that they maybe didn't understand in class. And I think making sure that solutions really talk to what the kid's actually learning and interested in learning at that point is really useful. Because when you're young, I mean, often you don't really give a shit about learning, you're just trying to get through school and get good grades. And so really, are you going to be academically interested, or you just want to be given the thing that you've been told you need to learn that day? And if that thing you've been told to learn that day is difficult, then, you know, it's really good to get help on that specific thing when you need it, which I think is really important. But yeah, there are a few. There's many others, but I'll shut up. Thanks.
No, love that. That's great. And then moving on to Pav, last but not least. So you're from a CVC, a corporate venture capital vehicle out of Pearson. And, you know, how do you see you adding sort of like distinct value, you know, also being integrated with Pearson?
So as I mentioned at the top, we're very strategic in how we approach investing. So we invest off our balance sheet, which gives us a lot of flexibility. And our, you know, Pearson's view on education is that it should be learner and user-centric. It should be focused on improving outcomes for that group of people and the educators that are using the tools and services that we provide. And we mirror that approach. So when we look for startups, we're looking for evidence that this works. What kind of outcomes are you driving? Who are you driving them for? What kind of data can you provide to show that this has scalable potential as well? And that's really kind of the first gate that we look for. And then the others is we also have a mandate to bring that external innovation into Pearson. And to do that, we kind of collaborate with the startups that we invest in. So we always look for partnership potential in the companies that we're sourcing. And then it's on us to kind of take that company on the show around Pearson, help them build relationships, and help scale that business. So what do we give them in return outside of just our money? Actually, I think you can get money from a lot of different places, but what Pearson and Pearson Ventures can give you is access to the largest education company in the world, customer base, user base. I had to get that humble brag in, and you know, like visibility. And it adds a bit of credibility to the startup as well when you have a big name like that on your cap table. It's another bit of a humble brag. So yeah, it's really about mutual growth. We get access to early innovation. They get access to our distribution in a way, and visibility within the company. And so far it's going really, really well. So I think we've got a portfolio of 16 active investments and 2 fund of funds. And out of the 16, we've managed to get collaboration with over half. And given that some of our investment remit was slightly different when we built this portfolio, it's working pretty successfully since we've implemented it over the last 2 years. So, yeah, I'd say that's if you ever come to Pearson looking for investment, I would say focus on the outcomes that you're driving, and then how you think you might be able to fit within our ecosystem of the products and services that we offer, and which customer set you think or user group you think you might be able to help us serve.
And help me understand, so I know Pearson because all my textbooks in the IB were Pearson textbooks. How does Pearson think about EdTech? I presume they don't think of it as like a threat, they're embracing EdTech, but where do they fall on the balance between, physical books in schools versus, digital solutions? And the reason I ask is because from what I understand, Finland just banned most of sort of digital solutions in school and going very sort of pen and paper. So I was just wondering, what does Pearson think about that debate?
So it's a really great question, and I think a lot of the world knew us as a publisher, right, of physical textbooks, but really that's changed a lot in the last few years. Where it's predominantly now digital tools and services and e-texts that we provide, and it's the learning experience that goes around the content that we generate that I think is super valuable. So EdTech for us is an opportunity. It presents incredible partnership opportunity. We innovate within the company, but there's so much that you can do that we're not going to do all of it in-house. So finding companies and founders that have mission aligned, really care about the outcomes that they're driving, have created something quite novel or found a novel application for technologies, I mean, we're always interested in hearing about it. And yeah, so we see it as very much as an opportunity to work together.
No, that's super clear, really cool. So I think we might be coming towards an end because
You have about...
Is there a parent in the room?
You have about 3 or 4 minutes.
We have about 3 or 4 minutes, perfect. I lost sort of track of when we were supposed to
okay,
end. Cool.
I'm keeping an eye on you from the audience.
All right, well, maybe as a last question, you know, what is an area that you think is underestimated in this space, like an investment opportunity, you know, a use case of AI, an Edtech? It could also be, you know, just an in-person education opportunity. Like, what is one thing that we're underestimating in the space of education today?
Okay, I can go. I think it's related to David and vocational education. It's underfunded, which is very, very potential and promising, because there's a lot of jobs will be disappeared and a lot of jobs will be created after the AI era. And I think this is very, very potential and very, very promising. And we are in, you know, education in its core, it's all about impact. Yani maybe it's long-term impact, but it's about impact at the core of the industry. And when we started to invest, we focus about what's the most impact that we can do through our startups. Like, I give you an example. We're having here a founder of iSchool. iSchool, Mohammed, is a founder of Hi, Mohammed. Okay, iSchool is providing courses and educational content for kids from 6 or 7 to till 15, as I think, coding, programming. So they are preparing the kids to what's coming in the future. So I don't need to wait to be in a university and decide what's career I want to be. No, it's starting very, very, very early. So this is making an impact. So this is preparing kids to workforce labor. So I think this is underfunded, and also we need a skilled labor. If we're talking about blue collar need to be educated about the digitalizing the process of their work. So I think it's underfunded, and there is a big opportunity in this sector as well.
I would just say lifelong learning. I think we've had a model for a long time which essentially says you do loads and loads of stuff till you're 18 in school, then you go to university, it's very expensive, and then, and actually, is now a really long time, and it would be good if more was done in that space. So then when you're 50 and you want to learn something and you're happy to pay a few £100 and put something in, more than a MOOC, less than a degree, big space there. Well, I might have eyes on that one.
Yeah, hardware, I think, is very difficult to get right, but extremely massive opportunity there. One of our biggest portfolio companies, a company called Yoto, they recently announced they're doing 140 million annually in sales. Like, there's huge potential there, and anything that moves kids away from screens is just like immediately very attractive to parents, but it's very hard to get off the ground. So I think it's very overlooked from a funding perspective, because the numbers just don't stack up until either they're long dead or somebody's taken trust in them, and 5 years later they're finally seeing some positive traction. But it's tough, but I think it's a very exciting space.
Yeah, I'll go back to the one I mean, these are all really great answers. I'll pull on the thread that I pulled on earlier, which is, I think, when we were looking at the multimodal assessment space in a formative way, it was actually quite barren, underdeveloped. I was shocked. I've been looking at this investment theme for maybe 2 or 3 years, and I found one, maybe 2 companies that do it. That's the one that we both have, Dewey Learn. Phenomenal company, but it's green. It's completely green. It's greenfield. So I think it's definitely underfunded, and it means that, okay, great if you're a first mover, but there's so much opportunity across the globe that needs to be unlocked from that. It's a shame that there isn't more of a push to invest in that space. So that's what I'd say is multimodal assessment.
Do we have a question at the front? We haven't got that much time for questions, but if I hand you the mic, may I, Victoria, hand over to the gentleman?
Thank you. Having listened to what you've said about EdTech, to be honest, I'm very disappointed in the reach that EdTech is trying to achieve. It seems to me to be trying to reinforce the same machinery that we've been doing for the last 100 plus years. The education system is massively old and massively outdated. And when all we're doing is twiddling the knobs, I don't see that trans-paradigm thinking of the future of the education system. Is that out there? And if it is, what is that?
What do you mean? Thank you for the question. What do you mean about reach? Do you mean like the students around the world that EdTech is reaching today?
No, I mean the education system that we have, all we're doing is trying to improve that, is an outdated system. I mean, we're still talking about educating children through the use of words. And yet we know with an education triangle that people learning, by reading is one of the worst ways of retaining that information. And I don't see this process of taking all the learning that we have and applying that in a radically different way to totally redesign the education system from a trans-paradigm perspective. I mean, I'm a systems thinker, and I look at the education system, and it's, to be honest, it's not fit for purpose.
I can give you a quick answer, which I think probably will go for lots of people in the room. I think this room will be full of people who feel the same as you, which is why you're involved in tech and innovation. On the other side of that equation, there is a £30 billion spend in England on 500,000 teachers, another 500,000 staff, 9 million kids who are already there. It affects education, it affects productivity. It's massive. As a government, you don't begin by saying, how do we rip up this huge infrastructure? It's 24,000 schools across England, just the buildings and the land alone. So this is not going to be a revolution that happens quickly in most countries where you have a very, very established education system, because it's like trying to rip up your car industry or your food industry or get rid of supermarkets overnight. So as much as we all in here might be enormously punchy and might well contribute to it happening quicker than it otherwise would, that's the reason why you'll find it'll be very, very slow, unfortunately. Does that
No,
help?
that was amazing. And one day I want to become as good as you, as like dropping like really powerful and extremely relevant statistics. And thank you for your questions. And there are, like some school models now that are trying to completely reinvent it, like private schools where, they're doing things very differently. But thank you very much for your question.
So I wonder if we could ask everyone to put their hands together for Victoria and the panel. We have a very exciting showcase. I know we all battled the queues this morning to get through the door.